Welcome back to Movies Lab. Today I will show you a movie from 2018 titled The Mule. Spoilers ahead. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The film opens in 2005 in Peoria, Illinois. We meet Earl Stone, a 88-year-old Korean War veteran who enjoys his profession as a horticulturist, growing fancy flowers and being admired for his hybridization of daylilies. The next day, he attends the National Daylily League convention. We can see that the Earl is quite famous among the fancy flower community. Earl notices a booth that is promoting a flower business via the internet, but he is pessimistic about it. Earl wins the 2005 NDL Gold Medal for his Sunnyside Meadows, Illinois majestic flower. He gives a short talk and jokes at the event. At the same time, his daughter Iris is getting married elsewhere. Granddaughter Ginny is initially optimistic that Earl will show up, but Earl's ex-wife Mary Stone knows that he will disappoint everyone in the end. 12 years later, the online flower business led Earl to go out of business and his house is foreclosed by the bank. The homeless Earl then visits his granddaughter Ginny to attend his wedding rehearsal. Ginny is happy that her grandfather attends the event. Soon after that, Iris and Mary arrive with a dress for Ginny. Earl's presence irritates the two of them, prompting Iris to return to the car. When Mary sees all of Earl's belongings in his beat-up old truck, she assumes he's seeking for a place to live. They both argue, making Ginny and her fiancé uncomfortable, realizing that they both then leaves. But a friend of his fiancée Ginny approaches Earl. He learns that Earl had experience traveling to 41 states without getting a ticket. He then hands Earl a business card and informs him that he knows someone who is hiring drivers, hoping it can help his granddaughter's wedding party. Earl accepts the offer. Earl goes to a tire shop where Mexican thugs load a duffel bag into the rear of his truck and hand him a cell phone. He is ordered not to use the phone but to answer it at any time of day or night. He is not to look in the bag, and he is to park the truck and return in an hour. Earl follows the instructions and gets a cash envelope in the glove compartment. Earl attends Ginny's wedding, but Iris and Mary are distant and look strange to see Earl present at the event. Even so, Ginny thanks Earl for the flowers he brought and the open bar. Earl then tries to ask Mary to dance, but she refuses, telling him that Earl spends too much time just on flowers and puts his own family aside. The next day, Earl buys himself a new truck and impresses the Mexican hoods with his new truck. He will do the delivery again. They order Earl to go to his usual hotel and to stick to their rules. They also hand Earl a new phone and break the old one. He then does his second run. Meanwhile, D.E.A. Special Agent Warren Lewis has brought in a fresh hotshot agent, Colin Bates, to try to catch drug dealers and traffickers trying to enter the United States. He and his partner Trevino manages to catch a member of the cartel named Luis. They found drugs, $425,000 in cash, and 3 unlicensed firearms in Luis's house. Conservatively, Luis will face a life sentence and he'd be somebody's girlfriend in a day. So if he doesn't want that to happen to him, Luis must be willing to cooperate with the D.E.A. They then use Luis as an informer to expose the cartel's drug traffic. The next day, Earl goes to the bank to get his home out of foreclosure by paying off all his debts. He then visits the VFW and finds it has been gutted by a fire, but nobody got hurt. Unfortunately, insurance companies don't care about them, so they probably won't get any money for a few years. Earl regrets if that place would be abandoned and the veterans don't know what to do. Unless someone would donate some money to repair it, says a volunteer, eyeing Earl's new truck. Later that day, Earl returned to the tire shop to make another delivery. This time with a bigger load. The Mexican thugs remind to stick to the rules and ask Earl to keep his eyes open. On the Earl's third run, he is curious about the contents of the cargo. He then pulls over to his car and tries to open the bag, which of course is a lot of cocaine, and makes Earl shock. Just as he is closing the bag, an officer appears asking if the Earl needs any help. The officer wants to check what is in the back of Earl's car. Luckily he has a few sacks of pecans with him, so Earl tells him he is going to deliver the pecans for his niece. The officer's dog starts barking. He thinks it is going to pee. Earl seizes the opportunity to take his analgesic bomb. When the dog comes to the Earl, he makes it sniff the bomb. Officers immediately take the dog and allow Earl to go. Earl manages to deliver the cargo and get more money than before. Meanwhile in Mexico, a cartel boss named Layton tells his man Julio that Earl will send 110 kilos worth $2.7 million. So he wants Julio to travel with him and monitor him, because Earl could be a top mule for them. Julio doesn't seem happy with the job. Earl donates some money to VFW, they then hold a big reopening celebration. Earl is a hero. He also contributes to the education of his granddaughter Ginny and attends her graduation ceremony. Iris is still cold, but Mary is beginning to warm up. But it seems that Mary is suffering from an illness. When Earl comes to the tire shop, he meets Julio and his partner Sal. He explains to Earl to obey his orders, follow their route, and have no unexpected stops. While on the road, Earl sees a family with a flat tire on their car. Earl breaks the rules, pull over his car and help them. When they manage to deliver the cargo, Julio calls Leighton, telling him that Earl is not following the rules, but Leighton asks him to let Earl work his way. Meanwhile, Luis gives the agents a cargo manifest. They then found out about the symbols for each mule, their routes, cargo loads, and the existence of El Tata. The agents start to gather clues to his identity. All they knew was that he has carried over 100 kilos of drugs to Chicago a month and he has a black truck. On another run, Earl is late in delivering the cargo, but Leighton's men tells him that Earl broke the record by carrying 282 packages in one load, and Leighton wants to meet him. Leighton brings Earl to Mexico to meet him and throws a big party in his honor. The DEA wants the cartels to be oblivious to their movements, but they are required to show progress. So the DEA chief orders them to set up a bust. They then stage an ambush to a place suspected of being a stash house, but they only get 2 nobody illegals and a few bags of coke. When Leighton is playing with his favorite shotgun, he is suddenly killed by his own men. Gustavo asks Julio to see him, telling him that the DEA is cracking down and he doesn't want to rot in prison. But Leighton was getting too lenient, so Gustavo got rid of him. He is the new boss now, he wants no more tardiness, no deviations, and everything had to go according to plan. He also wants to introduce Earl to their new crew, show him that they are not bullshitting. Shortly after Earl bought a burger, he is blocked by Julio and some of his men. One of them got into his car, and they asks Earl to follow them. They stop in the woods and ask Earl to get out. Bug warns Earl with a new rule, that he must show up on time and leave on time, and no unscheduled stops. They then show him Sal's body. Julio tells him to obey the rules or it will happen to him too. From the wiretapping, Bates manages to figure out the mule's route and where he's going. So this time he and his team will go in an undercover vehicle to catch the mule. They tail the suspicious black truck and order him to pull over. Unfortunately, they found nothing in the truck. They then let the man go. Luis calls Bates, telling him that he has information that the mule will be staying at a motel. He advises Bates to go there. Once they get there, they found a suspicious person. Bates goes to the man's room and arrests him, but they only found 15 grams of meth. Bates checks the man's truck and found nothing, while Earl watches them through the curtains. Early in the morning, Earl goes to the coffee shop and bumps into Bates. Earl makes small talk with him and gives him advice about his family, telling him, "Don't be like me." Him advice about his family, telling him, "Don't be like me." Just as he is continuing his run, Ginny suddenly calls him, telling him that Mary is in the hospital, but they allows her to go home for hospice care because Mary's condition is too critical and she was too late to be treated. Earl has only just begun his first run for the new boss, but he realizes that this is his last chance to set things right, so he disappears and decides to return to his family. He goes to Mary, apologizes for everything he has done so far. Mary forgives him and is happy to see the Earl there. Bug and his partner try to call Earl many times, but they get no response from him. Bug is upset and intends to finish him off. Meanwhile, Luis informs Bates that the cartel has lost contact for a week with the mule who is carrying $1.2 million worth of drugs. Bates reports it to his boss, but Warren tells him they had wasted too much time, so he wanted to end the operation. Bates assures him that he has tapped into the cartel's phones so he can follow their movements. Warren gives him one last chance. Earl stays by Mary's bedside. She tells him that the Earl is both love and pain to him, and Earl's presence right now meant a lot to him. Earl tells her that he loves her. Shortly after that, Mary is gone. After Mary's funeral, Iris invites him to spend Thanksgiving dinner with the family. Earl promises to attend. He then resumes his drug delivery. When the gangsters who were supposed to be following Earl spot his truck, they chase him down to a truck stop and beat him up. They take the memorial service flyer and Earl explains to them that his wife had died. Bugs calls Gustavo, telling him that Earl has a good reason for disappearing, but their new boss has a different opinion and intends to kill Earl. Bug plead his case, but Gustavo warns them that if Earl fails to finish the delivery, it would be their heads. Meanwhile, the DEA intercepts Bug and Gustavo's conversation. They get information about the identity of Earl's vehicle, and set up a GPS lock. Earl resumes his drug delivery with some scars on his face. However, Bates now has Earl's truck ID. With the help of a chopper they chase Earl. Bates and his team block the road and manage to stop Earl's truck. Bates is surprised when he realizes that the person he had arrested is Earl. Earl tells him that he gets what he deserves. He also feels lucky that he got a little time to spend with Mary and his family, allowing him to come back in. At trial, Earl's lawyer attempts to paint him as a broke, desperate war hero trying to provide for his family. And the cartels not only took advantage of his good nature but also his advanced age. But Earl stops her and pleads guilty to all charges. They then take him into custody and will send him into federal prison. As he leaves, Earl tells Iris and Ginny that it is just time. He could buy anything but he couldn't buy time. They then kiss him and Iris says, "At least we'll know where to find you." The film ends with Earl growing daylilies in the prison garden. The end. Subscribe if you would like to see more summarized videos like this and help the channel to grow. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Take care.